Okay, so we are back and ready to go. Let's see. So you are doing a formal dinner party with the important
Yes.
members of the expedition. We're kind of establishing some relationships that might play out in interesting ways over time. Um, During the break, it kind of occurred to me that one thing to do with Ketch, since he's, you ultimately will be revealed as a rival to your group, is that um, his troops um, don't get along with your troops. I
Yeah.
think some of them are also former members of the Legion and left with him. So some of
Ooh.
them know your guys and
And
don't
our
get
guys are
along.
principled, so that really goes up their
Right.
nose a mile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah.
And so I think Ketch's uh, uh, troops are going to be kind of joining at late, but there'll be
Yes.
some conflict coming up, and at least Titus, you're aware enough of that history that you're able to anticipate that things might not go as smoothly as you might like. Um,
Titus is very excited about that.
Infighting, my favorite kind of fighting.
All sorts of
Oh
fighting is good.
God.
It's just, infighting means you can fight inwards, you can fight outwards, surround yourself with enemies, and you
all the
never have to
fighting.
worry about where to swing your sword.
All
Yeah, yeah.
fighting all the time.
It's a target-rich environment.
I think even
Oh,
Titus specifically used whatever favors or hired to get the Legion half knowing this could be a potential problem in the future.
well, I think he's mindful that once he convinces them after having beaten them that they were in the wrong, he can bring them back into the fold and make his group bigger.
Or at
Yeah.
least the survivors.
Yeah, well, the survivors,
Mhm.
or their heirs.
Next of kin.
Anyway, getting back to the present, so you have a partly friendly, partly tense dinner.
Hmm.
It is lovely in terms of there are several
Oh yes,
courses, beautifully prepared. There's
yeah.
afterwards the food is cleared away. The table in the middle folds up into the floor. You are all sitting in large, comfortable leather cushioned chairs, drinking brandy,
Mm.
and kind of says, and now to a bit of business. And you have a discussion of how the expedition is going to play out. So you're going to be traveling through the Umbra to Ilium. She anticipates that taking about 2 weeks. It's way off in the Umbra. So you're going to be traveling through many worlds, many world shifts. Eventually, the train will no longer function in any form where you're going. So you have to transfer to a different mode of travel. She has some ideas about how to do that and what kinds of sort of riding animals to recruit. You can always so you can imagine a world in which everybody has been waiting for thousands of years for you to arrive so they can do perform their religious duty and give you everything you want, right? So you can always just find a world where people just do whatever you want them to do. So she's envisioned a way station where the locals will provide you with riding animals and beasts of burden, and that will allow you to continue on to Ilium. She has been given a key. So there is a vast barrier around Ilium. All the worlds around Ilium just were destroyed and turned into a magical barrier. Nobody can get through. Nobody, as far as you know, has gone there for thousands of years. But those who created that barrier foresaw the potential need to be able to get through it at some time, and so for thousands of years, the ruling families of the three Vergences have kept in a very secure location this magical key, which can be used to open up a gap in the barrier and allow you to travel through. That's how you're going to be able to get to Ilium. Otherwise, it would be technically kind of impossible. Um, this key, so she will be able to use this key to open up a barrier, have the expedition pass through it. This key will be crucial because it will be needed to get back out when you are done. No one knows what exactly is happening in Ilium. This is sort of exposition that she's providing. Some of it you're aware of, but she's filling in a bunch of details for you. Nobody knows what's on the other side. The records show that um, the great crystal of Ilium was broken. That's the equivalent of destroying the orb of Agaros, or the eye of the serpent, or the eye of the maelstrom, or the heart of the serpent. That was broken. That was a huge undertaking. Nobody can imagine that happening to a Vergence, but somehow they achieved it with unimaginable amounts of focused power. Um, their world was destroyed at some level, um, and so we're going to need to find out what's going on there. That's the purpose of this expedition, going to this ancient destroyed world that was once its own Vergence. Um, so you'll need to be prepared for anything. There may be creatures still living there. The ancient Ilians, they're they use they were known for riding great beasts called titans. These were giant dinosaur-like creatures. They butted pieces of their crystal obelisk and used those pieces of crystal to implant into the brains of these giant creatures. They used them for riding and for travel across the Umbra. Perhaps some of them have survived. Who knows? Um, Maybe we'll find a completely destroyed world. Maybe we'll find lots of ruins and remnants. Nobody's quite sure.
Hmm.
Any questions?
Um, yeah, of course. Uh, Hawthorne is very curious and has been gathering information about anything involving Ilium. And presumably Kyneth is going to be the go-to resource. I would assume that's why Kyneth was put in charge of everything.
Mhm.
I don't know if she's necessarily a scholar. I don't think she is. Um, but Hawthorne, regardless, will kind of like pose a question to Kyneth along the lines of like, obviously this like transpired generations ago, even amongst our people,
Mhm.
and I'm just curious if there were records kept or any sort of um, perhaps research, with that being as unprecedented as it was even at the time, the destruction of a Vergence. Uh, how possible is it that a world is even there? Uh, to my understanding, once a power source, once the Vergence's core, uh, well, I guess not to my understanding, it's unfathomable, um, but the core of a Vergence is what keeps it
Mhm.
together in the Umbra, where things may go or become anything. Um, are we certain that once we get to this place of Ilium, with its core destroyed, it will even still be what once was? Will it have faded to the Umbra?
That's an excellent question. No one is quite sure. The record suggests that it was that even in destroying the obelisk and breaking it, remnants of the power of the Vergence could not be completely eradicated, and therefore some power remained that would maintain this place. So the best scholars that I have spoken to, and he, she can say that she does have a couple of historians and scholars along on this expedition that she has consulted with. believe that there is some kind of world there, that it would be impossible to destroy the power of a Vergence to the degree that it simply disappears as a world. Of course, we all know that it's possible to simply eradicate a world in the Umbra, and that has happened a number of times. It does, we can barely imagine breaking the power of a Vergence, as we know happened. Um, it does not seem that even the people who were able to break the obelisk could completely destroy that world. So it probably has a, a power level that we would consider equivalent to an anchor now.
Sure.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have had reason to establish this barrier in the first place. It would have just been gone.
Are
Speaking
there
of the bear,
records? Yeah.
oh yeah,
Are there records of the barrier? Was it created as an effort after the destruction, or
Yes.
alongside?
After the destruction, it was determined that no one should go there, that it would be forbidden, and that a barrier around this place would be created. We believe that the barrier draws power from the remnant power of the broken obelisk in some manner, but the records are not clear exactly how that was accomplished.
So powers
is
from all three of the Vergences tapped into the remaining power of Ilium and created a impenetrable barrier
Mm-hmm.
to which there is only one key.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what my. There's only one key. Then who got to hold on to that key,
that
or was
has
it split
been
up?
a carefully kept secret for this whole time. The three um, Vergence royal bloodlines have maintained a treaty with regard to keeping this in a highly secret and secure location ever since. I am not privy to the details of the security that has been maintained for this key, but I was provided with it.
And none of the other Vergences tried to make their own copy for safekeeping, not trusting the other two. That does feel like a rather
Unrealistic.
implausible branch
Yeah.
of trust between the three.
That may have happened. I do not know. I have my own suspicions along these lines, Titus. Perhaps a copy was made. Perhaps it's not possible to make a copy that would actually work. Or perhaps some kind of shenanigans have happened. There are no records, to my knowledge, of anyone passing through the barriers since the end of the war, and the barrier was established, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Perhaps secret things have occurred. We might find, who knows what we'll find.
Of
Maybe we'll
course.
find the record. Well, maybe we'll find remnants of other expeditions or other secret things happening. Bullren says, brings up, well, once this barrier is down or pierced, does that mean there'll be more regular activity
Expeditions.
there? Are
Looking for
there,
trade opportunities.
well, are there artifacts that are would be useful? Are there is the historical value of this place, has it been long enough that we need this barrier now? I guess we'll have to find out.
Is it possible to recreate the barrier once it's open, or is this a one-way uh, box, maybe
She
belonging to
says
a Pandora?
She says the key will not destroy. She was told the key will not destroy the barrier. It will open a gap in it, a temporary gap that will allow us to pass through. And then, as long as that, if the key is not being used to maintain an opening, then it will close again, and we'll have to open it again from the inside.
And to clarify, our goal is to figure out what's going on and then report back, or to solve it.
Well, I have considerable leeway with regard to that. Uh, it is believed that once we are on the other side of the barrier, we will not be able to communicate. That there is no magic or power or use of void stones that would allow us to reach out through the barrier. So we will need to make decisions on the basis of that. Possibly we will find something dangerous and immediately retreat, and so this expedition may be very short. Um,
Well, you'll
if
retreat.
that's the
He
right thing to
won't.
do, or it may be that we'll need to that we will make decisions that we'll have to justify to the to the royal houses of the Vergences,
Of course.
and you are all here because uh, there is some level of trust in your capacity and your ability to contribute to this expedition. And she gives a little look to Mika, I think.
I'm so touched. This is all so sweet.
I
Okay.
don't know that I would have described it as sweet, she says and smiles at you.
I know.
Ooh,
So there's
so
some more discussion. Ketch has some other questions. Do you have questions or anything that you want to play out here?
maybe not to play out, but I imagine there's some discussions of forward guard versus who's basically going to be tip of the spear versus like okay,
Mm-hmm.
where's going to be the base camp? Are we going to go literally, hey, let's put everyone right next to this barrier and open the door, or do we have like kind of a reserve force
Mm-hmm.
back and like send some people for so we don't just open up a dam and everyone gets washed away,
Mm-hmm. So there, so you can talk about what that plan will look like. It
Mhm.
will need to be adapted to the conditions as you get there. As you know, there has been this strange harmonic
Yep.
coming from Ilium. So conditions in the worlds around it may be different than how they've been reported in the past. This may be a difficult, challenging journey through the Umbra even to get there,
Mhm.
or it may be easy. She does not know.
What is the contingency if for some reason we end up separated?
Ooh, good call.
Well,
Um,
you are all members of the Blood. If you were to find yourself separated out in the Umbra, you could find your way back to our group. Uh, if you needed to find your way back to a Vergence, then you could do that. We certainly hope that that won't happen. Uh,
And what if we find ourselves separated in Ilium? Do we have a signal we can use to identify each other? Some sort of kind of how to kind of regroup? What sort of kind of is there kind of a plan for it? Because let's say we open the door and we get sucked in, maybe I don't know, and we're all now scattered and all that. How do we identify each other and all that? Let's say really weird things happen. Is there kind of a plan of okay, our goal is to escape and regroup outside? Do we want to regroup inside? Kind of what's
I think Ketch says,
the
obviously, I'm playing multiple NPCs at the same time,
Ketch
and it's
says
always
we
mhm.
betray
goofy for a
everyone because he's a
yeah,
dirty betrayer. And
yep. It's always goofy for a GM to be playing multiple characters talking to each other, right? So I'm trying not to do that. But Ketch says, look, we're gonna have to figure out that out at the other end. If we get sucked through into some weird whirlwind, then we'll have to decide what to do. If we
Mhm.
just calmly march through, we'll be all together. I know that my troops, if you would like, can distribute to you some. We have a set of flare guns that are specifically designed to work under many different sets of physical conditions. They are likely to work there as a signal to each other. if you would like to borrow a few from us, I think we have some extras.
That is a good idea. We want to make sure we know where our allies are.
Of course.
Yes.
I will make arrangements for that before we leave.
Okay.
So the intention is to leave shortly, right? So
Yep.
Right now. No. Okay.
the the train the train is just about set up. All of the people who are supposed to be there are on board. Things are, and set up in their specific cars. So we can get going shortly and make our way through the Umbra. Is there anything that needs to be arranged before that happens? We'll have opportunity to have other meetings before we approach Ilium.
No, I think we can handle that on flashbacks. I think we can go forward now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't have to beat a dead horse with this meeting. So you have a comfortable evening and retire to your cars. And then basically, as night falls here, the train just starts up and makes its way out. Um, as we had mentioned, it's going to start on the Great Tormillion Way, which is the greatest roadway through the Umbra that exists. But it's going to have to take a detour fairly soon. But um, so the train, assuming you're not doing anything to at this point, is going to just be traveling out through one world or another. At first, you're going through cavern worlds because you're traveling away from Agoros, but eventually you come out of a tunnel into a world that has a sky. Uh, there are you're on the Tormillion Way, so there are trains and other means of conveyance going back and forth. So you pass a bunch of other trains, pass through some checkpoints since the Tormillion Way is guarded. Um, but this train has all of the right approvals, etc. Um, and we can pass through a few days of that just being on a train hanging out. The train takes a detour away from the Tormillion Way, and Kyneth is guiding the train through worlds that have train tracks that the train can travel
I have
on.
a very important question, just because it might come
Uh-huh.
up. Um, let's say like how much of this like let's say someone was standing on top of this train doing like a life and death battle, do they still travel with the train through worlds, or would they just kind of pop back and like, ah, shoot, the train's gone? I'm just curious.
Um, well, if you fell off of the train, then the train might travel through to another world, and and since you have the power to travel, you could catch up with
You
it.
can catch it, yeah,
If if somebody without that power were to fall off of the train, um, you're creating a pathway through the Umbra. If you're moving along an established pathway, then people who don't have the power can typically follow those paths.
yeah.
It's much more difficult for them than it would be for you,
Okay.
but people do it. Um,
Can I safely
but
have a fist fight on top of the train is the most important
yeah,
part.
a
Okay.
fist or a sword fight or a slap fight or whatever you
Yeah,
want to do.
good.
Yes, you could because you're on the train, right?
Good. Okay. It's not like a ton. I don't know, for lack of a better word, like a tunnel through worlds. It's the train and it the parts of the train
Yeah,
are going.
yeah.
Okay.
The train and its environment are moving forward. As you go through worlds, things shift in a variety of ways. The train is designed to adapt itself to different worlds and their physical conditions. And so, in some worlds, it's cold or hot. In some worlds, different kinds of power sources work, um, and, etc. So, the train shifts its physical form slightly. Kirsten, you were mentioning its capacity to shift into being able to travel, turn into dirigibles. Um,
Yeah.
so that the plan is for that's going to happen for a little while as you travel through a region that's kind of near the maelstrom, and most worlds are just sky worlds and there's no track to follow.
Yep.
Um, and then after that, um, you're going to end up in worlds where dirigibles don't work, right? The physical
Yeah.
laws don't support that, and you'll end up. There's a way station that Kenneth had mentioned where you're going to go arrive in a world where the inhabitants who, let's say that they are humanoids covered in blue fur. You arrive, you are the messiahs. They have been preparing for this for hundreds of years, uh, and they see the apotheosis of their religious mission in the universe is to provide you your expedition, which has been prophesied to them for many thousands of years, that their purpose in life is to set you up with everything that you need so that you can go forth and destroy the anti force of the universe and fix everything in their religious tradition. Right. So she has found this world. Right. You can imagine a world and go there.
Okay.
So this is where she is found. You've traveled again through these worlds. I'm jumping you ahead a
Yep.
week or so. Um, so the train turned into dirigibles and then landed in this place. This is as far as you can go in these train cars, and you unload the train. And they're providing you with riding beasts and beasts of burden. What do they look like? Do you think?
So giant elephant-like creatures.
Okay.
Um, and then ones that fly. So the beasts of burden are the big, massive, you know, multi-limbed, heavy creatures that can be stocked up. And then there's a lot of flying creatures that we actually ride on.
I was thinking so for like the flying creatures, it's kind of this weird kind of X shaped in terms of kind of body,
Mm-hmm.
has like kind of a tiny little bug head, and then instead of like limbs that kind of go down and touch the ground, I guess they can do that, but they're kind of like these weird kind of spongy type materials, and it can inflate that with like a combination of gases and all that make it float. So you can like tie bags and or basically like a seat or something to that, and kind of use toggles to kind of control which way they go and all that, or kind of like these little, for lack of a better word, it looks like like one of those little drones kind of, except different and organic. uh, and so you use, yeah, some toggles to kind of shift around and control. A smaller one will seat one person relatively efficiently. A larger one you could fit like a seat of people, or even maybe a small passenger car kind of type situation. Yeah.
Okay,
Sure,
cool.
that's strange.
And our people have drivers that are trained and are ready, and they're beasts. So we have our own basically organic taxis
Mm-hmm.
that have
And
been.
then the Oliphants with the
Yep.
beasts
Yeah.
of burden.
And as you travel through the Umbra with this large expedition, all of you will need to be working together because it's necessary to kind of visualize a gap between worlds, use your power to open up that gap, have everyone, keep that gap open while you
Yep.
move everyone through it, open up the next gap between worlds, make sure nothing dangerous is happening in the area where you're at. So uh, the three of you plus Kyneth um, are
Take
the
turns.
empowered characters
Yeah.
on the expedition. So all of you are working together to move the expedition through the world. It's a lot easier to move one or a few people at a time through the Umbra. It takes some work and coordination to move a large group through the Umbra and make sure that nobody gets lost. Um, and I'm going to say that after a few days of traveling from one world to another, the worlds are slowly getting more uh, uh,
Chaotic.
inhospitable, sometimes dark, sometimes cold, um, lifeless places. You go through some places where there's just coughing, just smoke and sand in your eyes. Places are just getting less comfortable because you're not able to, as you go toward a place, the worlds you go through start resembling that place, and you can't move yourself through comfortable places as you already have been because you have to go toward this location. Um, and after a few days, um, it starts getting noticed that people have disappeared, right? That gotten lost on the way. That a few of your troops have just disappeared, right? Gotten lost somehow during the travel, um, and so orders are taken to keep everything together, to be doing head counts and checks because
Should have been doing that already.
well, there's normal ways to do that, but now you're being more careful,
It's
which is
being
going to slow
tightened.
you
Yeah.
down a
Yeah,
bit.
so you
Yeah.
That's tightened up, right? Because this
Yeah.
doesn't normally happen like this. So it's a little strange to be having people get lost and then not easily found again. And after a couple of days, and there's a camp and kind of pulls your group together. And she says, I think someone is working against us.
yes.
Okay. I can see that.
Uh, that
There's
the
several people working against us, I'm sure.
well, some force is working against us. And you have noticed that uh, opening up, movement through the Umbra has gotten more difficult, that there's someone who appears to be kind of creating barriers in your path. You've had to do some detours around worlds that looked like they were hospitable, but turned out to be, filled with unbreathable gas or other environmental conditions that are not manageable, and that someone seems to be kind of creating a difficult path for you.
Do we
She's
think
not
it's
sure who that is.
related to Ilium or related to the serpent? Or both?
Or someone
Or
else.
both.
Um, kind of says she doesn't know.
I
Well,
find let's try and appear weak where we are strong. Can we lure some sort of ambush, lure some sort of attack? If this is a small group or large group, we can get them to strike more openly if they feel someone is separated away or a small group is separated away.
We could attempt that stratagem. What exactly are you suggesting? We
I
allow a
want
group of our
myself and
troops to wander off, that we
the troops
have
would just be
one of
lost.
or more empowered people travel off away from the expedition. What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that we make kind of a camp, and some of us go on ahead, a small enough group,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a day or so travels ahead, and see if we can get them to strike more openly.
I like this. Um, there are risks involved. Um,
For you? No. No. Uh, there's risks involved in this entire expedition.
of course.
So it seems like that perhaps our small group might make a good advance party. But that would mean that that would only have one powered person helping, kind of opening the way for everybody on her side.
Could we make
So,
it look like only one of us is going ahead, but have all of us basically go in that sense of our 3-person group.
I think Mika's concern is that as we are the ones guiding the expedition through the Umbra, it would be most difficult for Kyneth to do so alone.
Well, that's why they would have to stay in camp, and that would make us that much more juicy a target.
Oh, so they wouldn't travel at all. We'd go out and then back.
We'd go about a day's travel ahead and wait for them to attack us, because if then they take us out, they could stop the entire expedition. So if this is the serpent waiting to try and harry us or all that, we would be a big old juicy target.
Well,
'Cause
also a very powerful and resilient target.
high risk, high reward.
Kind of says that she does have a void stone that she could attune to one of you.
I will be attuned. Any wing sitter.
She gives you a smile.
He makes her blush.
But that's my idea. Is basically let's go play bait, because if
Alright.
someone's really trying to stop this expedition, yes, we would be high profile, dangerous target, but that could be the hey, we could set this back at least like another couple weeks, months, whatever, right?
Sure. All right, so why don't we call this an
Okay.
operation and do
Yeah.
an engagement roll rather than do a bunch of planning. And so we can kind
Awesome.
of, since we're coming up on the end of our allotted time, this can be a little bit of a cliffhanger ending, which is always fun. I'm always in favor of that. Um, so in Blades in the Dark games, you are Fortune in the Dark games. You can jump ahead through ignoring all of the finicky planning and jump ahead to the action, just like a movie. You might have people say, "Okay, let's do that," and then skip over a bunch of stuff, and suddenly you're in the middle of things. So, with an engagement roll, you choose what kind of plan you want to use. If you want to look in the handout that's on the 9th page of the handouts, there's a list of plans. So you identify a plan and you detail. You provide a detail, and that's as much as you need. You can always flash back to your careful planning and establish what you've done in the past. But we're not going to. You don't need to go through that in the until you
Need it.
until that you need it. So
Oh, this
there
is
are 6
clearly
kinds of
ambushed.
plans.
Well,
Mhm.
let's like read through for people that
Yeah.
don't
Yep,
know
Yeah,
monsters.
so let's read through it. So ambush is luring an enemy into a trap. An assault is you go right in to cause shock and damage. A chase is you try to catch up to a target. Infiltrate is you're entering a protected location. Investigate is try to find a target or solve a mystery. And socialize would be negotiating, bargaining, conning, or persuading. Don't think you're socializing at this point.
Clearly, this is a social engagement.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can go out and just send out invitations. But I could see a couple of those being valid
I
here,
could see
depending on how you want to play it.
investigate, but at least how I described it would be ambush unless someone else has other ideas of maybe like more an assault or investigate or even infiltrate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could just
I
steal
think
the key and try and
ambush makes
infiltrate
the most
Ilium.
sense to me. But
Okay.
Jared, we're
Fair.
the good
So
guys.
Yeah, we're the good guys going ahead to explore first.
yeah, yeah.
We take the key, we pretend to go ahead to catch whatever ambush, we open
Mm-hmm.
Ilium, and
You
then
show you're kind of waving the key in front of you just to make sure everybody knows it's there. Uh, so you want to do an ambush plan? Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So the detail that you provide for an ambush is exactly what the trap is.
So Mika, out of the 3 of us, you look the most vulnerable.
that's true. That's true.
I know you're a
So,
strong, independent woman, Mika, I swear.
oh no, it's okay. I totally get it. I think we should go out ahead I think we should set up a camp and do some exploring, and then we
Mika's the
can see
bait.
about.
Me and
I
Hawthorne
will.
are
I
the
will
trap.
play bait. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'll play bait.
Okay. So you're going to be kind of off by yourself.
I'm gonna sort of wander a little bit. You know, they're gonna be, probably very
Setting up
focused on
camp.
setting up camp, and I'm gonna be
Okay.
just sort of, yeah, checking things
All right.
out.
Cool. All right. So I think that's good enough to set things up. We can run a couple minutes late to do the engagement roll, and then we can finish if that's everybody has time for
Yeah.
that.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. So when you make an engagement roll in Vergence, the GM tells you how many dice to roll, generally between 1 and 3, unless you have a special ability that gives you extra dice for engagement rolls. The default is 2 dice. It depends on how much time and ability you had to plan and prepare. Seems like you have some ability to plan and prepare, but because you're going out into worlds that you're not set up with, I don't think you have extra to work with. So I'm going to call this a 2 die engagement roll. If that
Mm-hmm.
sounds reasonable.
Totally fair.
Somebody want to make that roll?
That's it. There's an yep, engage. All right, I can
Yeah,
do it
there's one.
unless you want to do it, Travis.
Nope.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. That's a 5.
And you roll a
Perfect.
5. So what an engagement roll does is tell you how dangerous the situation is when the real action starts. Uh, so there are 3 positions or levels of risk for die rolls here. And what this establishes is where you are starting with your position there. So it could have been controlled or risky or desperate. And because it was a 5, that means the situation is risky. So it's could be better, but it could be worse. You rolled right in the middle. So let's say that Mika, you are, let's say you've established a bit of a camp. It's nighttime. You're in a world with a whole set of just huge dim stars up in the sky. So they are much bigger than the stars in our sky, but they're dimmer. So there's about as much light as a starry night here. They're just notable circles up in the sky, um, in sort of a big swirling set of kind of constellation. So it looks like there's a big blobby galaxy up in the sky. It is fairly dark, but there's enough light to kind of see by. There's a camp behind you. This is a hilly area with thorny, spiky, low trees around. Um, Everyone else has gotten cut on the thorns, but somehow you're just walking along, and none of the thorns have touched you, so you don't see what the problem is here. Um, and you wander off to maybe relieve yourself or go on a little walk or wander. It's not obvious to anybody observing what you're doing, but you are away from the group.
Yep.
And I'm going to say that suddenly you see that there are sets of glowing eyes all around you, that they are not like 2 eyes like this, like on a head. They're like sets of eyes that are sort of weirdly randomly distributed. And I think we can end there on that little cliffhanger. We'll play that action out at the beginning of the next game. You, of course, can always flash back to preparations you've made, or people or things you brought along to set this up. But you're in a risky position as you
Yep.
deal with this little situation.
Sure.
Excellent.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So thank you all for participating in this first session of Vergence. Remember, you can always find Vergence on itch.io by just doing a simple little search for small cool games or Vergence. That would give you a much more extensive description of the game, if nothing else. If you're interested, you can also buy a copy if you like. That would be awesome. Um, but otherwise, anything folks want to say about how to find you or how to engage with you?
Nothing on that line. I don't know if we want to do milestones, and also, do we want to do wishes and stars this time, or shall we wait till?
No, let's do that. Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate that. I actually asked people to remind me about that. So let's talk about milestones. So in this game, there's not individual advancement. There is advancement for the group. You hit a milestone for the expedition. These are identified by the expedition. And the players decide whether you've met one or more of these triggers. There are two triggers for the expedition. One is the Alliance confronts a significant challenge, and two, the Alliance discovered something important that was previously unknown. Do you think you've done one or
I think
both of
one of
those?
those.
Okay.
I
Well,
feel
certainly
like we.
encountered a challenge.
I would say we definitely discovered what was important is we are being followed or something like that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've
and
discovered some notable things, and you're in the process of confronting what could well be a significant challenge, right? So I could argue for both of those.
hey,
So so that checks off a milestone, which gives you an upgrade point. So the first four sessions each give you the first four triggered sessions give you an upgrade point. After that, you get an upgrade point every other milestone that you meet. You had one leftover upgrade point from when you were setting up the alliance, so now you have two. You could spend those now. There are various kinds of upgrades you can get, or you can save them and spend them later. Some things cost more than two. That is up to you if you want to think about that and decide that at the beginning of the next session. That is cool. Talk about that offline and maybe go through some of the options you might be interested in.
yeah, I think we'll go over that more
Yeah,
next time. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I like
cool.
the idea of recon.
Okay. And let's do stars and witches. So everybody can say, at least one thing they liked about something somebody did in the game. And then we can talk about things that we would like to see in upcoming games. Um, if it's okay, I will start on that. I really like the way all of you just kind of established your characters quickly, your role in the group, and really helped me establish relationships with other characters that I think are going to play out in interesting ways. So I thought that was pretty cool. Uh, who else has a
Wishes.
star?
Oh, I have so many stars. Y'all are
Yep. You
stars in
might
my
have
mind.
you might have to triage a little
Okay,
bit.
I'll trim down to the most important stars. I really like when, because I sometimes like to do the what does this look like, and I really like that everyone responds positively to that, and I like to get down to details and stuff. Like I have to hold myself
Mhm.
back. What are we eating? And all, yeah. So, uh, thank you for enabling myself and also taking part yourselves. I also really enjoyed establishing the relationships. Especially like Titus and Mika with big strong guy, little small, and their kind of social strategy versus Hawthorne and Titus. Hawthorne being the smart warrior type, and Titus being the I'm strong enough not to have to be that smart warrior type. So I
What's the
like
worst
that.
that happens? You die? I mean, that's not a big deal.
So yeah, I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate establishing the characters and the relationships. That's always the best part of the game for me.
Cool. Anybody else?
So I always like. I mean, I've been enjoying the playtesting and the stuff we've done and all the various characters. I like the way the relationships are going. I think that's fun. I think that's going to be interesting, and yeah, that's always my takeaway.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not too divergent. We primarily did social interactions for this session, so
Mhm.
I think for everybody that's pretty similar. I do think catches going to be great. I hope he is an ultra villain and it
Well, that could be
ruins
a wish.
everybody's day. Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh yes.
Uh, it'll be cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any specific wishes? So my wish would be that, which I think is going to play out, is that we'll get into some intrigue and action in the next session. Sounds like that might well happen.
That'd
Any
be a
other
wish.
specific wishes?
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing the results of the first really bad roll.
Oh.
Oh, you don't have to wish for
That's
that.
what. Yeah, that's true.
Wish.
I don't have to wish for that. I'm just.
Let's see how the luck
I'm,
plays out.
I'm
Sometimes you get a
looking
lot of
forward
good
to seeing how that plays.
Yep.
Titus does something incredibly stupid but incredibly awesome. That's gonna be on
Okay.
me to make that happen, but
Yeah. But you're wishing for the opportunity for that to happen in a really epic way.
Oh, you'll make the opportunity. There's no doubt.
and other wish, devil's bargains. I love my devil's bargains.
Yep.
You do.
Sounds like Travis, you're looking for Ketch to turn out to be not just a minor annoyance, but to be more epically a problem.
Yeah, I think it would be very interesting, especially with the majority of the party being on friendly terms with him. Like, uh, everybody loves sympathetic villains, so
Yeah.
him doing something wildly like antagonistic to the expedition, but like
Mm-hmm.
not wanting us to necessarily be dead, or you know what I mean? He's not like doing it out
Mm-hmm.
of spite for us, but like
Mm-hmm.
whatever's guiding him.
For his
And
own
then we have to
reasons.
deal with the moral gray in between. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Catch, you're kind of a cool dude.
But
Catch, why are you being a dick? You're kind of a cool dude. Come on, man. And then
not
Jeff
Ketch,
Bridges goes
not
full dude. Is like,
Yeah.
let's just like your opinion, man. And like,
Ketch.
Not the younglings
Well,
in the temple. No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, if I'm visualizing him as Jeff Bridges, I have to make sure I don't turn into the dude when I'm playing him.
Oh, do it. Do it. Totally do it.
wrong
dare
Jeff
you.
Bridges character though. Wrong Jeff Bridges
Wrong Jeff
character.
Bridges
Do it.
character. No, I'm visualizing Obadiah Stane from the first Iron Man movie. Really,
Yes.
he's a much broader actor than just the dude, but
Yes.
everything just kind of coalesces around that character.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right,
So,
cool. All right,
lots of
thanks very
fun.
much.
Thank you. And thanks everybody on the replay crew for watching. Make
Mhm.
comments. See you next time.
See ya.
Yep.